The reason I wanted to bring up genres first is because even though I just clearly defined all these boxes of all these different genres that have been defined over time, this concept of genre bending is actually not new. In fact, I argue that it's something that's happened very blatantly before, and even sometimes we haven't noticed it when we should. Now, an obvious example, and I'll start with this because we talked about Jay-Z out front, but an obvious example was in 2004, I think, when Jay-Z went to Linkin Park and said, your album is fire. I want to make the album with you. You can do a second album with it that's the same thing, but it's going to integrate me rapping on your songs. And the most common one that we've heard, the hit from that album that is still bumped this day and is an absolute yam, is Numb. So I think it's Numb Encore. The new version of this song was just incredible because it took the original song and added in Jay-Z's bars to this hard rock and roll, metalish guitar rock song. And Chester Bennington, R.I.P., brilliant lyricist, all his great lyrics and brilliant voice all together, and just created this entire new, like, whoa, I don't know what that is, but I fucking love it. And people jammed it before sports games. They jammed it in their car on the way home from work. They jammed it sitting around their house, and they still, at least I do, they still jammed it today. But Jay-Z actually, even before then, his very first album was an album called Reasonable Doubt in 1996, which to me absolutely does not get the respect it deserves. I think it is by far his best album, and he made a lot of great ones. But I bring this up because Reasonable Doubt integrated all kinds of jazz and classical and orchestral music into an album where Jay-Z was rapping with absolute fire flow about some of the harsh realities of the streets, including his experience on them growing up in Brooklyn. And when you really boil it down, if you listen to a song like Feelin' It, I mean, you put the windows down in the summer, bump that song on blast, and let that piano hit, and then hear Jay-Z come in with that, I mean, instrumental voice that he's got. There's nothing like it. And I'm convinced that I could even show a song like that to maybe old people who don't like rap at all. And something about it, they'd be bobbing their head to it a little bit. But if we're really going to talk about genre bending here, got to talk about Queen.
Absolutely.
We got to talk about Queen. Now, Queen's had a real comeback here with the Bohemian Rhapsody movie coming out last year.
Not that they needed a comeback.
They didn't need a comeback, exactly. With Freddie Mercury out front, Queen took the concept of a ballad and brought it to guitars and emceeing enormous concert halls where the crowds were stacked through the back doors. And somehow they were able to go into spaces that had previously been owned by the Led Zeppelins and the Rolling Stones of that pure hardcore rock and roll sound and bring that operatic or operatic, whatever, vibe to it and make everyone lose their fucking minds. And we don't recognize that enough. I hope we do now. But their impact on music was indelible, and they were always called rock artists, and they were just so much more. And there's many more I can go through here. I mean, I got a long, long list. A very famous one that I should point out would be Run DMC and Aerosmith when they made Walk This Way, which is discussed in that Jay-Z documentary, by the way, so check that out. But when they made that song, Run DMC, those guys, they didn't know rock and roll. As they put it, they're like, we're from the hood. Like, we don't listen to this stuff. We rap. And Aerosmith, they didn't know rap. Rap was a new genre at that point. And somehow they were put together, I guess, by their management. And they got in the room and were like, hey. And then they're like, all right, I guess we'll try it. And they literally got it. Like, on the second take, they're like, oh my God, this is fucking fire, man. And now we have Walk This Way, the rap version too, which I guess that was like the Numb Encore before Numb Encore. Never thought of that, but it's true.